Hi, I'm Raymond and I'm going to show you how to get started coding with Python. So it's pretty simple. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to python.org and go to this download screen. At the time of making this video, the latest version is Python 3.9. The installation process isn't going to change much, so you can just click on whichever is the latest. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to install it again. But once you have it installed, you're going to go to your downloads. You're going to have something like this: Python, the version name, and then this AMD 64 just means like what your computer is based on. So you're going to want to run it, and it's going to start installing. It's going to ask you two things. It's going to ask you where you want the Python files to be. That can be anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Preferably if you have an SSD, it's going to allow the code to run faster. And it's also going to ask you if you want to add it to path, which yes, you're going to want to add it to path. It's going to allow Python to access directories in your computer, and it's going to allow the code to work. So once you do that, you're halfway there. The next step is you're going to want to get an IDE. An IDE is what's called a integrated development environment. It's basically a text editor that allows you to run your code at the same time. So you're going to go to PyCharm, just search up PyCharm. You're going to get that screen and go to download. It's going to start downloading. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do it again. So you're going to have something like this: PyCharm community. Going to want to run it. It's going to start installing onto your computer, and it's going to ask you if you want to create a new project. So it's going to be a little bit different, the UI, but it's the same thing as what I'm doing here. You're going to create a project, and it's going to ask you all these things. New environment using virtual env. You're going to want to leave this alone. You're not really going to touch that. Base interpreter, if it's not already on Python 3.9, you're going to click onto that. This is just what language you're using it. So PyCharm is exclusively for Python, so you're not going to be using something else, but you can also select other versions of Python. So I have Python 3.8.6 on here, and this is just Python 3.9. And you just create. Takes a little bit sometimes. Also, you're also going to want to try and install this on an SSD. It'll help the runtime. Alright, there you go. And you can change it in the settings, but when you start a project, it's usually going to give you this main file. But if you don't want to use that, if you don't want to delete it or to look at it later, you just want to use something else, you can go to new and Python file, name it whatever you want, test, and yeah, you're ready to go. So you can just start doing whatever. So I'm just gonna do a simple command, print, and then yo. And if you want to run it, it's also gonna tell you like what's wrong with your code. I'm gonna run it, and there's gonna be, so you also need to select your what you're going to run. So you can either right click on here, run test, and this little terminal is gonna come up, and it's gonna tell you either it's gonna give you a traceback, which is what's wrong with your code. It's like a bunch of red lines. It's gonna tell you what's wrong with your code, or it's gonna display your code here or whatever you want it to display. So yeah, that's the basics, that's the setup, and you're free to go.